Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. My channel name is called Inked Paper Art. Today I'm going to be showing you one of the 365 different ideas that I detail every morning in a short 15-minute video. Today is day 34 and we are going to make some little ephemera pieces out of these Avery key tags. This is what they're called. I will link them in the description box below. They are available on Amazon. They're very inexpensive. You get 25 of them per package. They are also available a multitude of other places. They look like this. They come white like this. And so inside of it, it's a little piece of cardstock. It's got a metal ring around it, around the outside of the tag. And it also has a nice ring that is good to use to hang it off of a journal. So I'm going to first start out by telling you that normally I copy dye these, but when I do not have any copy dyed ones available, I will do a little bit of ink blending on them, and generally I'll hold it in my hand, but you just apply your ink you got to get that ring out of the way. You can take the ring off. It is easier to do that, but you can also just go right over the top of the ring. So you get a little bit of ink on. I usually coffee dye them. You can make them as light or as dark as you want. I do like to go around the edge and get the edge a little bit darker than the center. So I'll get a good amount of ink on there. And then after inking all the way around that side, you also need to ink this side. I mean, you could leave it blank, I guess, right? You could leave it white. But coffee dyeing, you can just dip these in the coffee dye and they come out really nice. So you don't have to go through the process of inking if you have coffee dyed them. And then after we get this base layer down, I made it pretty dark on that side. I'm going to go in here and make this one pretty dark because I'm going to make a couple different ones today. And so I'm going to ink up several. After we do a couple of inking, I will show you the next step. It's really, really fun to copy dye things. I'm always amazed at how things come out when you copy dye. Some things come out, you know, the way that you would anticipate them. Some things come out a little different. Depending on what you use in your copy dye mixtures, you get a different result. And so when I dip these in, I will generally just dip these in and let them dry, pull them straight out and let them dry. But if you do soak them, the metal doesn't rust, but it does get a little bit of patina on them. So that's a good thing. And then if you don't like the metal color on these, you could also use alcohol inks to grunge up the metal ring around the side of the tag. And that's kind of nice too. So I'm going to make a light one, a dark one, and a medium-ish colored one. Again, you don't have to do this step if you've already copy dyed them or if you copy dye them when you first get them. I usually get mine on Amazon. They're around $4 to $5 for the box. They're very inexpensive. You get 25 of them. So let's go ahead and move forward with those three. I'll leave another one over here. We'll probably come back and do a few more in a minute. So after that, you can use a variety of different techniques to grunge these up other than coffee dyeing and inking them. You could also use your sprays on these. You could use some other type of mixed media like pastes and things. Your waxes, your gilding waxes, you can put a base layer of that down. But then after you get some kind of color or base in there, you can use a stencil. I'm going to use one of the ones that I've just dyed or colored here, and I'm going to put the stencil on. It's a number 423. This is an antique ledger, French ledger stencil. They are used for stenciling the pages in a ledger book, so I'm going to use that. Those are available, by the way. And then this is a clear block. I've got a French script little stamp, and I like this one because it's very tight, small font. So I'm going to use that. I don't know if I can get it with the block or not, but it's there. And I also have some small Tim Holtz stamps and these are Poole stamps. And so I'm going to use a couple of those. But if you don't want to stamp on your tags, you could use fabric. You could use paper and do like little collages on there. You could use, little cutouts from your circle hole punch and put those in there with patterned paper. Lots of different things, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways. So next, I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to go ahead and use the scorched timber. And for the stenciled one, I'm going to use the medium. It doesn't really matter, it's just preference. And so I like to just get that stencil down on there And I try to put it to where, you know, you line it up to where it'll be in the center or roughly in the center. It's okay if it's not centered. It'll just make it look more vintage looking. And so then I get a little scorched timber and just kind of blend it through the stencil. And there we go. And so that one's just got a little number on it so far. And then from there, we can stamp on top of it. Let me go ahead and do, I'll set this to the side. We'll probably come back to that in a minute, but let's go ahead and do a little bit of stamping. And I am going to take it off the block just because I think for stamping this kind of a little round circle, you might be better with just your fingers, just to get a little bit of this in the background on the stamp. So see, I just got a tiny little bit back there. I'm going to do it back here on this one too. I just want a little something back there. It's by no means meant to cover up the whole thing. It's just a little helper, right? Something to just kind of put in the background. Okay, so we did that. Now let's do a little butterfly on one. So see, this was super fast. Very, very fast. I probably have to use the block with this one. And so we're going to do a couple more, and I'll show you a little bit different technique on the next few. So I've got some ink on there. And then for the butterfly, I'm fighting the little ring right there. I'm really wishing I would have just taken it off. So there's the butterfly. He's on there, and he's got script in the background. So super cute. And here's this one. That's so far. I probably will add a little something there. And then after the butterfly, let's do one of Sam Poole's. This is, these are like copies, scanned copies of antique French legal documents. They have notary stamps on them. And I have a large collection of those documents. And so it's nice to have some stamps that are made from that. Just getting that inked up. And then again, I'm probably going to want it off the block. I just put it on, but I'm going to want it off. It's just going to be a little bit easier to stamp around that ring. So I'm trying to get the whole stamp on there. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, we did pretty good. We got a little script back there. That looks pretty good, actually. Okay, cool. Let's move on from there and do a little bit different of a technique. Just try to put that lid on. So after we stamped on some, I'm going to go ahead and give it a base layer again, just to color. And then from here, we're going to add some paper and build a little cluster on this one. And then I'll probably, if I have time, do a little lace one on there. If you already have pre-made clusters, that's good too. You could just stick one on. Other options are doing a wax seal on one of these little key rings. It's a nice way to add a wax seal to a journal. You guys know, if you've been around a long time with me, I don't put wax seals in my journals because I live in Arizona and we get really warm here. So if you use a wax seal, something waxy in a journal, it's going to melt here. So another good way of using one, no matter where you live, is on something like this that can be removed from a journal. That way it doesn't melt all over inside of a journal. So for the paper bits, we can use all kinds of scraps. Scraps are good. I do happen to have a little antique document right here, and this document is from the 1600s. It's from 1637. I have some signatures down here I could choose to use. I could choose to use just the text part. These are available in my Etsy. They're from 1637. They're on super nice antique paper. If you didn't know, 1637 is actually medieval times, so like kings and queens, right? So I'm just going to take a little piece of this, just a very small little piece, just like that. I don't even care what I got on it. It's fine. And I'm going to glue that down, and then we're going to build a little cluster. And I just put a little ink there in case we saw, in case we could see a little bit of the tag. I just didn't want any bright white showing through. And so I'm going to build my little cluster right here, right now. And we're going to need some kind of other item to put back there in the background. There are these little labels over here. We could put a tiny little label on. Let me grab a couple of little things. I think I know what I want. I think I want an antique postage stamp. So postage stamps are another great thing to put on these. Ooh, this is a perfect one. Let's do this little postage stamp on here. And then, I actually shouldn't have put glue just yet. Let's do one of these numbers too. I got to find the right little Tim Holtz number. I'm going to build a little cluster. Let's do this. So let's ink around that real quick. So tiny little clusters on these. And these are removable, right? So you could add all kinds of three-dimensional things without having it impact the ability to write in a journal. So that's why I said wax seals. Any type of three-dimensional stickers would also be good if you're trying to use up stickers or paper flowers or anything like that. You can glue down onto one of these. I've even used little crocheted doilies down there on them. Those work nicely. And so now my postage stamp is ready. And so I've got a little cluster on my key ring, and that's just one side. I will probably, you know, do a little tearing or something around there. That's pretty good looking. Move my postage stamp over so I can see some writing. There we go. So I've got a little cluster on one. That's nice. Let's see what else we can do on them. We have in this little ephemera tray, we've got tiny little Tim Holtz people. Trying to find the smallest one I can find. There's one of these little boys. Let's put a little boy on one. So these little guys, I don't know what they measure, about an inch and a quarter. Inch and a quarter. So they're very small, but we're going to get this little guy on here. Not all of him, but we're going to get a lot of him on there. And so we've got a little bit of time left. Let me get this base layer of inking down. So much easier if you copy dye. And so I could do a lace one too. We'll see if we have time. But now I'm playing with this little guy over here. So this little guy needs a little tiny bit of ink. And obviously I'm going to position him to where I can make use of his hands. See the way his hands are kind of, they look like they're leaning on something. So I'm wondering if I can have him kind of like leaning off the circle, right? Now I probably will want a little script or something back there in the background just so that he's not, you know, on a blank tag. Heaven forbid he be on a blank tag. So see, I just got a tiny, tiny little bit. This little script stamp came out of like the mushroom stamp set from Tim Holtz. The little clear mushroom one that you used to be able to get at Joann's. So I'm going to glue him down on there, but let's figure out what else we want with him. I think we need a little something else with him. I do have a very small little bit of ledger. Do we want to try to get like more? No, I want him in there just like that. If I put anything else, I'm not going to see that his hands are holding onto the ring. So I'm just going to put him on there. Very simple. And then maybe we'll do a little more embellishing after he's on there. I can find a very, very small label. That would be good. I do have some small ones here. So there he is. Got to get his head right there. So his hands are just barely holding on to the edge of the ring. This one's a little bit off. I think we've got him on there. Okay, let's see what else we can do with him. There are these teeny tiny little labels. I need to find one now. All the tiny ones always fall to the bottom of the bin. So there's these tiny little labels. Here's a little 24. There's another little label. We have several options there. Let's see. I'm thinking maybe just this little blue one. I almost could have tucked it back there behind his shoulder. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to get this little label. My little tiny, these are the mini Tim Holtz people, the very, very small ones. I don't know if they are still available, but I have a large collection of Tim Holtz stuff. And so I'm always just using, you know, from my stash. And I don't keep up with what is available and what isn't available anymore. I'm really trying to get that tucked back there. Yes, we did it. We were successful in that. And then we just need to glue him again. So you can do little paper collages. You can do little fabric collages. You can stamp on them. You could do the wax seal on there. Let's see what else we can do. I'm going to keep these out because we may need them. Right there. Obviously, you could put like little tiny Victorian scrap flowers on them. I'm going to see what else I can get done here. Uh-oh, we're out of time. Well, I'm going to keep playing and hopefully I have time today to post this over to Instagram so that you guys can see what else I made. I always end up making more than I can show in the little video. And so I'm going to try in the next day or two to get some stuff posted both in the Facebook group and over to Instagram. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is what we did. We made this little guy, which has the postage stamp, the antique document, and the script on it. We made this one with a butterfly. We made this one, which has the antique French document stamp on it. We made that one, which honestly it needs a little something else, but it's pretty good. And then we made this little guy too. So we made those, in 15 minutes. We made that many of them. That's what, 3 minutes a piece? That's pretty good. Pretty good, honestly. I will see you guys tomorrow with day 35, another tiny little project that we can make in 15 minutes or less. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving me a thumbs up. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.